Hello, and welcome to Here's the Thing with Robbie and Jose, where we explore relationships through a male and female perspective. With me, as always, is the lovely Robbie.
Hello, Jose.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. I'm excited for this episode. I've been anticipating it.
Yeah, so this is the sequel, the part two.
Postmortem.
Yes, the postmortem. So it's a breakup series, right? And obviously with breakups there's a lot of different ways that we can come about it, right? I think there probably will be more episodes on
Hmm.
breakups just because
So
it's
much stuff.
it's a lot. It's a lot. But in this particular series we're exploring it from, before the breakup, like thinking about a breakup and thinking about doing that, and then post breakup.
Mm.
So in this episode we're going to be talking about the post breakup, or post mortem, as I like to call it. And the reason why I call it a postmortem is because relationships kind of have a life of their own. I've
Yeah.
always felt like they kind of do, right? They have a beginning and then they have an end. And a lot of times when it ends, you're sad.
Yeah. And you have to treat it kind of like a death. I mean,
You
honestly.
really do. You really, really, really do. Because it has a life of its own. You were, and here's the thing about that, right? So just right off the bat, when you're in a relationship, you're together, you're part of a unit.
Mm.
And when that ends, you no longer, you have to reevaluate your life.
Yeah. What do I do? Yes.
Yes, because now you're by yourself.
Everything changes.
Everything. Your time, how you spend your
The
time.
weekends are
The
sad.
weekends are set. I mean, it's good and bad, right?
Yeah.
So now you don't have. So here's where I think things go bad, or not bad, but sometimes if you have a really good connection, like even if it ended, let's just say that it had deal breakers, or it could be, infidelity, or that's a deal breaker, but it wasn't all bad,
Mm.
right? It wasn't all good either, but you still, there's certain parts, I'm sure, even in a bad relationship, that you'll miss
Yeah.
because
There's
you
a
were with
reason
that
why
person.
you were with them. Yeah.
Exactly. So, but with that, I wanted to explore, like, what happens afterwards, right?
Mm.
Because now it's like, okay, regardless of whether you broke up with somebody or they broke up with you, now you have to really explore some things.
Yeah.
Not least of which is how to get past it and
Yeah.
move on. I kind of feel, whenever I have a breakup, especially, so a divorce, right, which is not a breakup, or it is, but it's on a much
It's a
larger
legal
scale.
breakup.
It is very much a legal breakup for sure. But whenever that happens, um, I remember giving myself a certain amount of time to grieve,
Mm.
and I said to myself, okay, this really sucks. Because here's the thing, right? So when you're in a relationship, humans live, and I always said this, humans live on three time zones, right? We live in the past, we live in the present, and we live in the future.
Mm.
And you have to be very careful where you're at, right? Because the past, you're going to reminisce, nostalgia, your brain can't help itself. It's going to think about things that happened in the past, and that's how you kind of navigate the present. And then you can't discard the future either, because again, whatever you do now is going to set up your future. So if you're with somebody now, it's you can kind of think like, okay, in the future I'm going to be with this person too. Why would you think any otherwise? Especially if it's early on in your love and
Mm.
everything's great, like, oh, I can see myself with this person forever, and I love their breath in the morning, and
Oh, Lord.
and they're perfect. They leave the seat up, but that's okay. It's fine. It's cute. And then afterwards, you're like, oh, that future no longer exists. And
Yeah.
sometimes the future is as real as it could ever be. Like sometimes the future, when you imagine those things, it's more real than, like something in front of you, something material.
And I think that everybody has their own, like, I'm talking about like immediately once it happens, everybody has their own ritual immediately. My ritual is I'd call my mom or my closest friend because I just have to say it out loud. Like, it's almost like, it's like, okay, this thing happened. I
Yes.
need to say it. So that's for me, that's what I do every time immediately afterwards. I can't
That's
just sit there by myself and think about it. Like,
no, and you know what? That's a shout out to all the people that have to listen to our sad, sad, sad breakup story.
not even just that.
Present company included, by the
Yes,
way.
we've leaned on each other a couple of times. But I mean, it's not even just the initial part, but I mean, if you have a friend or whatever, like it could be months after, it could be years that
Yeah.
some people mourn it and you have to listen to it every time. But immediately right after the breakup, it's like, I just need to say it. I need to say, this is what happened.
Yeah.
Let me get it out there in the universe. And then I
Yeah.
can start to,
It is cathartic,
yeah,
right? That's what it's meant for. And sometimes, I don't know, the jury's still out because one train of thought is that, talking about it helps get over it.
yeah.
And other people think, nah, it really doesn't. But as humans, I don't think it really matters. I think we're going to do it, whether it helps or not. It's just irrelevant at that point. I just want everybody to know just that I'm heartbroken and it sucks and I'm sorry and blah blah. And actually, so with that, you always have to be careful, right? Because um, so the first thing I'm going to say is like when you have friends, like you have to be careful not to bring it up too much because the last thing that you want is it constantly, because eventually they're going to get tired of it.
Mm.
I'm thinking of the movie 40-Year-Old Virgin, where Paul
And
Rudd's
he's like, you got
character
to get
just
over it
yeah
already. It's been
he
like 2 years.
yeah and he just couldn't get over it. And I
Yeah.
think everybody knows somebody like that.
Yeah.
And sometimes I tend to linger about things myself. I'm guilty of that too.
But
Where
do you think it's just, I mean, the obvious reason, I guess, is that person can't deal with what happened.
yeah
So it's like, I think as a friend, hearing that, you would try to help them, give them the tools of like, this is how maybe some things of you can deal with it because just talking about it, it works for
yeah
some people it doesn't. Sometimes you have to do other ritual
yeah.
things,
I remember in the breakup, I had a buddy of mine, and I relied on him quite a bit. He was a really smart guy. He's super intelligent. He had a lot of relationships and whatever. And this was before I met you. And
Yeah, how
he,
dare you have another friend that you go to?
well, it was funny because I had asked him. He was around during my divorce, so
Mm,
he witnessed. So he knew me when I was married, and then he knew me when things started to go south.
mm.
Then the divorce, and he was through it all. And I remember asking him because he had lots of relationships. Like, dude, what can I do to get over this quicker, like faster? Like, how do I?
You
I
get
want to.
over it, you get under someone. Is that
No,
what?
he gave me like it was profound, but at the time I was like, huh? But he said, you just got to do it.
Oh, that's all?
But you know what? And now I understand the wisdom because initially I was like, wait a minute, come on, you're smarter than that.
That's all you got to
That's all
give me?
exactly. It's like that's all you have. But he's a very practical guy, and
Mm,
I remember he had also gave me advice about when a woman he was like because he had told me he had broken or his girlfriend had broken up with him. And he said, yeah, she broke up with me. She gave me the reasons, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dude, like, are you devastated? Because he was with her for like 10 years or something like
oh,
that. It
wow.
was a long time. And I was like, dude, are you doing okay? Are you fine? Like, and he was like, I was like, are you going to try to get her back or like, what's going on? And he was just like, look, Jose, when a woman's done with you, she's done with you. There's
Yeah.
nothing you can do. There's nothing you can say to get her back. And so if they give you walking papers, you just say, okay, I appreciate it, and then you move
I
on.
gotta say the caveat to that because I've experienced this myself. It depends on how it ends. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Because
sure,
I've given
sure.
people second chances before,
Yeah,
even when there was a period of time, you know what I mean? Extended period of time in between.
right.
So it's not impossible, but it depends on how it ends and what the relationship is
Yeah.
after that.
Well, and you know what? The interesting thing about that is that because that's the approach that he took, and so they broke it off, and that was it. And he didn't beg her back, and he didn't try to stick with her or anything like that. He was just like, okay, I respect it. They were broken up for about like 2 or 3 months, and then she came back.
See?
And
It happens.
I think with that, I think that's the best approach. Is like when you're like an adult about it and be like, okay, fine. You kind of leave off with it, like you said. It depends on why the breakup. If it's an
Right.
infidelity, and even then,
Yeah.
but depending on how you break up, if you're adults about it, if you don't whine about it, if you don't like go overboard or go cuckoo bananas about it, there's still a chance that it might. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that you should try, but I'm just saying it's more of a possibility than if I beg you, like, please don't leave me. I'm sorry. Please.
Banging on your door in the middle of the
Yes,
night.
exactly. But that leads me to my next thing, right? It's like, okay, what do you do now, right?
Yeah.
Because the temptation now is you want to pull up their Facebook page, you want to
Mm.
look at their
What are they doing?
Instagram,
Who
their
are they with? Are they with someone
Snapchat.
else?
Yes. And you almost like if there was another person involved, you just kind of like, are they
Yeah.
seeing somebody? Because the last thing, and I don't know why we do that, right? Because we're really hurting ourselves.
It's
Like,
torture.
yes. Why would you want to see your ex doing well? Nobody wants to see their exes doing well, especially shortly after a breakup. It's one thing
Maybe
if
you
it's
hope that
been
you'll see them and they're doing bad and you're like, "See, it's because you left me. That's why your life is
it's
in
the
the
best
toilet."
thing in your life. Look at you now. Ha ha. No, but honestly, that is the best revenge. I mean, and revenge being I'm using that loosely, right?
Mm.
Because obviously revenge is not a good
Yeah, you're not
idea.
doing anything. It's just like, I'm going to live my life and better myself.
Yep.
And then if they ever come in contact with you or see you and you're doing great, it does feel sweet.
Yeah, yeah, especially if you're doing well for yourself, if you've taken care of yourself, a lot of self love. So, one of the nice things about being broken up is that now you have time to be by yourself and kind
Mm.
of work on the things that you want to work,
Yeah.
right? Without sounding too hokey, right? I don't want to come off as too hokey,
Let's do the hokey pokey.
but and you turn yourself around. But I will say this: I think when there is a breakup, there is a temptation to immediately go for the rebound and
Oh,
try to
for
get into
sure.
another relationship.
We've all been there.
I think that's a mistake.
Yeah.
I think
But
that's a
we'll
mistake.
still do, we still do
I
it.
know I know a lot of people that do it. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people that do it because it's hard being by
Yeah.
yourself.
It is.
You have to come to terms with who you are,
Yeah.
and and if you like who you are, then great. But if there are things that you want to improve, that's a hard look at yourself.
Yeah. But even if you're okay with yourself, it's because you just had this horrible breakup, so you're
Right.
sad. So it's not even just the when you go look for a rebound, it doesn't always mean that you're not happy with yourself. It's just that you're grieving and you're like,
Right.
what can I do to just make it
Go
better?
away. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
You're looking
like,
for an instant relief
yeah.
for sure. And I can tell you right now, whenever I've been out dating, right, and going on the dating apps, it never failed. You almost start categorizing women, right, depending
Mm,
on when you have the first date and you have conversations. One of the things that comes up is, okay, have you ever been married? In most cases, they have been. And then the follow up question to that, and this is very important, is how long has it been since you've been divorced?
mm.
If they're fresh out the gate, let's say it's been three
I just
months.
left the courthouse.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Those women, I'm telling you, be careful
Well, what if
because
they were separated for like a year or 2 years and then it's just final? Like, then you have to talk about, is it like legally final or
no, 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 that part, yes. Well, hold on, that's a different topic. I've been with women that I dated and where we live at, there is no legal separation.
yeah.
You're married until you're not.
Well, let's just say for whatever reason, because we're here in Texas, that, you're right, we don't have to have that. But let's say that the divorce lingers, not because you're trying to get back to it. They're like, I don't, whatever the reason is.
Yeah.
Let's say that it is a year and then you finally sign the papers, but you've already had a year to deal with it, to cope with it.
Right.
So again, you have to think about, is it like you just ended it, like actually,
Well,
or
yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So I've been in situations where they were like, yeah, we've been separated for, a year, right? But that's not
mm,
okay. So we live in Texas, and Texas says they have this, what they call a cool off period, which means that when you file for divorce, you have to wait 90 days before it finalizes.
cool off, cool off.
Cool off. You got 3 months to cool off, brother.
You hot here.
Yeah, like, hold up. Are you sure you want to do
Are you
this?
sure?
Are
Because
you
once you
sure?
sign, you can't sign back.
You're done, son. You're done. No, but that's what I'm saying. And so they give you that time. Now, I've also known people that, quote unquote, like we're not officially divorced, but we
Mm,
haven't been together for like 2 years.
mm.
For me, again, that's another red flag because it's like, no,
Like,
you're
why have
you
you
have
not?
exactly. You can make and I've heard every excuse, financially it doesn't make sense, and because of the kids, and because we have this, and because we have that. And it's like, that's all fine and dandy. But just understand, how do you plan on having a life with somebody else if you're still married to somebody?
Yeah.
Like you're technically married, you're dating a married person. And there's no other way to look at it.
So I guess it would vary from state to state, like if you're in a state that you have to wait like a year, like
Yeah.
some states have that.
I can tell you, for me, whenever I got a divorce, I, uh, you know, we had already agreed that we were gonna end the marriage. She was okay with dating, and after we had decided that, I was not.
Yeah.
So I had to wait until after even the 90 days. I still didn't feel right about dating until after the paperwork was
Yeah.
signed and was stamped. And as soon as it was stamped by the judge and it said, okay, you're
Bang
done.
that gavel.
Exactly. As soon as that was done, then I was like, okay, now I can date.
Yeah.
Now, I pass no judgment. If, I'm not saying that it's wrong if you do it that. I'm just saying, for me,
Yeah.
I needed that chapter of my life to be closed before I can move on to the next chapter of my life.
Mm.
But what I will say is that if it's been, let's say, 3 months, even if they've been separated but they just got legally divorced a month or 2 months ago, it's a rebound.
Yeah.
Now, with rebounds, what I learned, because again, I was married for 15 years and was together with her for 17 years, so it was a long time. I dated back in the 90s, and then afterwards, I started dating back in the 2000s. But what I will say is that eventually I saw a pattern with women that had just gotten out of a bad marriage
Mm.
or a bad relationship. Doesn't even have to be a marriage. It could be like they broke up with their boyfriend a month ago.
Yeah.
They are looking, and not always, but it just seems like it always worked out this way. They were really just looking to just get over it, right?
Yeah.
And they just needed another guy to help them along with
Yeah.
it. And so I was happy being that guy for a while. But the problem is that if you wanted to build a serious relationship with them, you can't. So there was women that again, they just, I guess you could say that they were using me, but they were, right. They were just trying to get over it, and I liked them. But at the end of the day, it's like we had fun, and they were like, yeah, like they figured out really fast that it didn't work, and so it was better to not even get attached to women like that, because they really weren't ready,
Yeah.
especially if they talk about their exes a lot. That's
Yeah.
another tough
But I
one.
will say that it's not 100% because I know people that have stayed with a rebound for years and years. I mean, sometimes it does work out. You're right. Typically, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
But sometimes, maybe if that person is really understanding, you kind of talk through some things and then maybe you become okay with it and guys can have a successful relationship.
It can. I
It
just,
happens.
unfortunately, I never experienced that.
Yeah, it doesn't happen very
We had
often,
our
but
fun, and it
yeah.
was it was fun. Now, I will say the benefit of that is that, again, you have lots of fun. You have lots and lots of fun, because they're, again, after a breakup, you're sad. It's a postmortem, and sometimes they're just looking for a little joy. They just want not a distraction, but they just don't want to think about it anymore,
Yeah.
and they just want to have fun. So you have fun dates, you go out, you drink, you have, unfortunately, and this is why I say that it's very rare that it works out, is because you really, all that is fun, but until you deal with it, you
Yeah.
really won't be able to move forward.
Yeah.
Like, it's a distraction, fair enough, but all you really have done is put a press pause on that emotion
Yeah, but
and
we
that.
can't say for sure how long it takes a person to grieve and
No,
get over it because everyone's going to be different
yeah,
and it's going to be based on the relationship too. So, like, if I have a 10-year relationship and we break up and then it's a month and then I start dating, who's to say that that's not enough time for me?
right, right, right. That's
You
what I'm
have to be
saying.
the
So
judge of that.
whenever I broke up, I was just kind of like, okay, I'm gonna give myself, and I forgot how much I gave myself. I think like 3 months or whatever. It's like, okay, do all your crying, do
Hmm.
all your sad songs, which is the next thing I wanted to talk
Okay.
about, right? So when you've broken up, you have to deal with it because you're sad. And I want to say, that it's okay to be sad. It's
Hmm.
okay to deal with all the emotions that are going to come at you. And there's going to be quite a few that
Yeah.
are going to hit you. In my experience, it's best to meet those emotions head on,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, there's a little bit of self love and self care that you need to have. But with that, you listen to the sad
So you just want to
songs.
cry it all out, get all the tears out.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
mostly because one thing that I think men, and I don't know if women do this, I'm sure they do, right? They're human, but you tend to, you say, "Oh, I'm okay. I'm all right. Yeah, don't worry about it." Because somebody, and most people, just like a death, You say, "Hey, so and so and I broke up," and you're like, "Oh, I'm sorry. It's okay. It's okay. I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's okay. You know, it was amicable. It was okay." And you're not. And why would you do that? I mean, I get it. You want to put a strong face and stiff upper lip and all that jazz, but you have to. You're human. It's gonna hurt. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to cry it out. What I understood back then was that okay, you can do that, but you can't live in that space.
Yeah.
It's okay, you can deal with it, but you can't stay in that emotion or else. And I've known people that have never really recuperated from a divorce or
Yeah.
whatever, and they sometimes, they're wonderful people and they could probably find somebody else, but because they just haven't been able to let it go,
Yeah.
maybe they're in denial, or maybe they think they're eventually going to get back together, or who knows?
Yeah.
But nevertheless, they haven't dealt with it. They don't move forward. And you see them, and sometimes you want to set them up with people like, hey, like,
Yeah.
why don't you go out? And it's like, no, I'm good. No, I'm all
Yeah.
right. Like, I don't want to do anything. And it's just like, but like you said, everybody is different and everybody takes a time. But for me, I was trying to be very practical about it and be like, okay, give yourself 3 months, be sad, veg out, do all that. But then after that, then you start thinking about, okay, now it's time to move forward.
Yeah.
And even when I did put that, it's not like I was like, okay, after 3 months I'm shutting it off and like, okay, I'm good now, I'm good.
Yeah. You can prolong it if you need to.
You can, but the point was you need to shift into the next phase,
Yeah.
right? Like anything else. It's like phase one, be sad. Phase two, start thinking about improving yourself. Start looking at that. And that's why I think being alone is a really good thing because you can face your demons.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think like drugs and alcohol, all of those things are a distraction. We all know that now. And sometimes dating and rebound people
Mm-hmm.
are also a distraction. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, when you come back home, you still have to deal with that emotion. When you sober up, you still have to deal with everything.
Yeah.
So the sooner you deal with that, the sooner you'll be able to move on. But I love listening to sad songs. I still like because I like a good cry. There's nothing wrong with a good cry. A good cry. Oh my gosh, is it bad to say that I just love crying sometimes?
No, it's not.
A good cry is the best. It's the
I don't know
best.
how many guys would agree with you though.
They would agree with me. They might not admit it,
Oh, okay.
but a good cry. I mean, look, I've listened to, and I know this isn't breakup, but just to give you an example of a song that would always get me teared up, would be like "Cats in the Cradle,"
Mm.
because I'm a father and I have a son, and it's like you're always worried about messing things up. So I listen to that song, I start like, oh, my son, I love him so much. I'm sorry, but it is what I'm saying. So like, there's other one. So there's another song that I really, really, really like. It's a Garth Brooks song called "The Dance." I don't know if you've ever heard it before.
No.
It's a wonderful song. It's so wonderful. Let me tell you why it's so wonderful. Just real quick, if you don't mind indulging me, because the dance it talks about a dance where he meets this woman at a dance, and they have a wonderful dance, and how he felt just that feeling that you get when you meet that person, where everything you're so what is it? You're so moved and you're so
Cloud nine.
inspired. Yes, like there's everything is perfect, but like anything else, it ends.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the song, they talk about the dance and how wonderful and how he felt like a king and how he felt just on top of the world. And then it ended.
Mm.
And what I like about the song is that at the very end, he says, knowing everything that I know now, I'm glad that I didn't know how it was going to end because if I knew, I might have not gone through with it all the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always like, dang, Garth Brooks. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you think about how hard a breakup is on you, right? How deep and how just emotionally charged that is. And the you tend to incline to think like, well, I wish I would have never met that person in my whole life. Like after like this heartbreak is just so hard on me that it would have been better if I just never met that person. And what he was saying is like that's not really how you should look at it,
Yeah,
right? You
because
had your
the
time.
truth of the matter is that a lot of breakups make us better people. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Like,
Yes.
okay, these are the things I need to work on. You Most people will reflect after a breakup and they typically are positive. But you're right in the sense of the song, like you think back to relationships you had when you see how it ended, you may want to say that, be like, oh, well, I
Yeah.
wish I never,
I wish
whatever.
I would
But
have never
honestly,
met
you
that.
wouldn't be the person that you are now or in your next relationship if you didn't go through that.
Right.
Is it is important.
Right. And just like again, a relationship being a death, and we've talked about this, before, is that when you grow as a person, a part of you needs to die off.
Yeah.
That's just how it works. And with everything, right? When you're learning a new thing or when you're behaving differently or you're trying something new, you have to say goodbye to the old, whatever
Hmm.
that old was, and move forward with whatever that is. And it is a death. And so it's not
Hmm.
just relationships, it's anything. It's I would say that I'm a much different person now than I was when I was in my 20s
Hmm.
or in my teens or even in my 30s for that matter.
Hmm.
Part of that was a death, and I miss that, which is nostalgia. Like, man, you know what it's like back in days going to the club and obviously we don't. I can't do that anymore, and I don't know. If, I don't
I mean,
think you
you
do that. I
could.
mean, you could, but it'd be sad. It's like look
Look at
at
that
grandpa over
sad
there
dad over there.
drinking a cranberry. Not even a cranberry vodka, just a cranberry
It's like a prune juice.
juice.
Got to keep yourself regular.
It's good for the digestive system,
Yeah.
but yeah. So I love that song, and every time I hear it, I can't like. I was like, yeah, man, because yeah, it sucks, but sometimes, and you do learn things about yourself, right?
Hmm.
So another thing that you learn about yourself is what you can tolerate and what you can't tolerate.
Yeah. You
So
learn some new deal breakers,
yeah,
probably.
yeah.
Hmm.
I think with every relationship that I've been in, I've learned something new about myself.
Yeah.
Like in every single one of them, it hurt. It was very painful, but I've learned a few things.
Yeah.
So
I will say, just for me, the best part about a breakup, and some women will understand, and you can either be, there's two kinds of people: people that lose weight, people that gain weight. I'm a lose weight
so
person.
am I.
So it's like, in all of that tragedy, it's like, well, I lost 10 pounds. So,
Oh my gosh, I know what that's like. Let me tell you something. This is horrible, but it was to that end what you were talking about. When I found out that I was done, right, with my ex-wife or whatever, I couldn't eat literally for like a week. I didn't eat,
yeah.
which is not a good idea.
No, it's not. But
Because it's not like I planned on being like fasting or
yeah,
anything like that. But here's the interesting thing about that is when you don't eat, you can't think of anything else other
I
than
know.
food. And that's nice because whatever emotions, forget about that. Your body is like, I don't care what
Yeah.
emotional trauma you've gone through. We are hungry. We
Yeah.
are hungry. And that's all you think about. So it was still somewhat of a distraction for me.
Mhm.
What was funny is I remember I knew that when I started eating again, that I couldn't eat like a solid food. So I
Yeah.
decided, let me go get some soup. I went to a Mediterranean place and got like a vegetable soup. And I thought that's probably going to be the easiest way to ease back into,
Uh-huh.
eating again. And I remember eating it, and it was the best soup that I had ever tasted in my life, by the
Like you were
way.
eating for the first time
It was
ever.
it was so delicious. And it was vegetables. I'm a meat
Yeah.
eater, so it was just like it was so delicious. But I do remember as soon as I finished that bowl of soup, all the emotions just came rushing
Yeah.
back. Like almost like a wave of like, hey,
Yeah.
remember this? Your heartbreak and all these I was like, oh man.
I
But it
100% agree.
but it catapulted the losing of the weight.
Yeah.
Because after that I started like I couldn't just go straight eating fast food or
Yeah.
vegging out. I had to slowly so I'd lost a good, I don't know, maybe 10 pounds
Yeah.
just within that
It's just,
time.
for me, it's part of my grieving process. It's just like, I just want to grieve, and like, it's going to suck for like a week or two, and then I can come out of it. But that is a positive for me. For the people who eat as a way to do it, and I feel sorry for those people, because it's like, you already feel terrible, you're upset, and now you've just gained 10 to 20 pounds, and then that's not going to make you feel good.
That just makes
It's
things
like, dang
worse.
it, why
That
did
just
I?
makes
But
things worse.
yeah, I mean, that's
And I
one
think
positive.
I think even on the rebound part, right? When people get out of relationships, let's say you were the person that was dumped,
Mm,
right? There is that sense of rejection. So
yeah,
I can kind of see that, like if you're a guy or a girl, and let's say you were, they gave you your walking papers, you were dumped. You want to feel desired again because you
yeah,
just felt rejected. So I can understand when it comes to a rebound, you're like, I don't. I just want somebody to desire
yeah. You're in the gym. A lot of the gym people are single.
me.
If you're like, a healthy weight, you're
Right.
probably in a healthy relationship. Because I mean, when you're in a
Well, yeah,
relationship, you go out a lot, you eat together. I mean,
you
like,
have
it's
to. Yeah,
fun. And so, like, nobody wants to eat alone,
yeah.
so Yeah, if you see me and I'm plump, that means I'm in a happy relationship.
Like, ooh,
If I'm
she is
emaciated,
happy.
then it's like I'm
Yeah.
sad. I just had a breakup.
When did you break up? But no, but like, especially if somebody's been dumped, or both male or female, but I would, I don't know if one handles it different than the other. But let's say you were a female and you were dumped and he dumped you for another woman. Let's say somebody
Mm,
younger or something like that. And you were with this guy for, 20 years and all of a sudden he found somebody younger and dumped you. I can totally understand how, like, that's a hard blow. I mean, not least
yeah,
of which your relationship's over, but then just as your ego, like, dang, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, what am I supposed to do? Because it's hard. I can't compete with a 20-year-old dude. I
yeah,
just can't. I have better credit than he does. And I don't live at home with my parents.
yeah. My car is paid off. Yeah, you got some things.
Yeah, so and I don't live out the trunk of my car. But the point being is, like, so in me personally, I enjoy a mature woman. I love a nice mature woman. So when they come out of the gate, I'm like, no, you're a knockout. I'm sad that your man unfortunately wasn't smart enough to identify that, but
Yeah.
I'll take it.
I think that is a hard thing that both sexes do is always comparing themselves when they see the person that your ex is with now.
Oh yeah.
It's just a natural reaction. You can't help it. If you look better, then you feel great. You know, you're like, yeah, that's what's up. But yeah, the
Yeah.
alternative.
It's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough, and I feel like sometimes, or back then I don't do it so much now. So now, if I were to date or whatever, I don't think I would. I don't. If they're on a rebound like that, I don't think I would want to do that because I know that they're most likely in a very vulnerable spot,
Yeah.
and I don't like to take advantage of that. That's just because again, it's hard, it's traumatic, and
Yeah.
it is a trauma for that matter. If you're looking at it as a postmortem, it's traumatic. So
Yeah.
relationships are, especially if you were blindsided and didn't see it coming.
Yeah. And then, like, I don't know, the big deal for me is seeing them for the first time after the breakup. And it doesn't really
Mm.
matter if it's a week, a month, or what,
Like, you mean in
however.
person or like
Yeah,
on
like
social
you
media or
no,
something?
no, you see them out somewhere. Let's say, you live, I don't know, you live in the area and you frequent this bar or the your local
I
Walmart, whatever,
I
and you see them that first time.
Do you go the other way? That hasn't happened to me yet.
Oh, I try to avoid. I mean, I don't. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to see an ex. For me, if it
Yeah.
really is a
You're at
death,
Trader
it's
Joe's, you got a bag, I mean, you got a cart full of stuff, and you're like, screw
yeah.
this, I'm leaving.
I don't know. I mean, but yeah, for me that's a big deal because it's like regardless of how it ended, and it's not that I don't want to see them because I still want to be with them. It's just that part is dead. It's done.
Yeah.
I don't want to revisit it at all.
Yeah.
So I really don't want to see them.
Yeah. Willie Nelson has a great song about that. He does. He does. And actually, I listen to both Spanish and English music. And so Willie Nelson has one. I think it's called Good to See You Again or something like that. And that's how it
Oh,
starts out. It's like, hello there.
yeah,
Haven't
I
seen you in
don't
a
it's
while.
not good to see you for me. I don't like to no.
That's how he starts out. It's good to see you.
Okay. No. I wouldn't even I don't know. I mean, like if they tried to come up and talk to me, like I would be polite, but it's like I don't know. Like for me, when the breakup happens, like it's over. That part is not that it never existed, but it's like you
It's
don't
done.
really exist to
Let
me
me ask you
anymore.
this, because
Okay.
I would imagine women get this more than guys. But when they come crawling back, how good does that feel?
It depends. Sometimes it's satisfying. Sometimes you're like, it's annoying. It depends. You know what I mean? Like, I've had my fair share of, I hate to use this word, but stalker ex
Ooh,
boyfriends. And some people, it's really not good. It's like I don't want that at all. It just depends on how it ended, who it was, what the relationship was like. But yeah,
but
sometimes
doesn't it
it's
feel good though? Doesn't it feel good knowing that they want you back like they screwed up, especially if they're the ones that initiated the breakup and now they're like, hey,
it can be. It can be because it's like you had your chance. Sorry. But like I said, sometimes if
You ain't
it's
never getting this
you
again.
know, um, but sometimes, like I said, if they're too aggressive with it,
Yeah, yeah, no, no, it
it's
could get
pretty.
dangerous. Sure,
Yeah,
sure, yeah. You don't want them like posting outside your house in the car.
it's happened to me
Oof, oh
multiple
my
times. We're gonna do
gosh.
our own episode on stalker ex boyfriends, but
Oh man,
um,
what do you do? Just call the cops, or what do you do in that situation?
I mean, you can. Uh, I wouldn't recommend anyone do that at all. Like, it's just
No,
not good. Don't
no.
drive by your ex's house. Don't do none of that. Like,
Well, it's different, right? It's a double standard because guys, obviously, they're stalkers, and if a woman does it, she's just, you know,
fatal
following up on
attraction.
you. Yeah, following up with you, making sure you're okay. I don't know, like it's not that.
Oh, is that how guys see
Well,
it? She's just
because
checking, make sure I'm okay.
because the reality of it is it's more dangerous. Men can be dangerous, especially if they're emotionally charged. You don't know what they're gonna do. A woman typically, and this is not by all means across the board for everything, but typically they're
Typically, we're
not
not
violent
violent,
or
right?
anything like that, right? They might throw eggs at your house or something like
Yeah.
that, or they might do little silly things like that. But I mean, it's not going to get to a point where it's too physical, unless of course, there's something else going
But
on. But
yeah, I will say that women typically, though, are more likely to meddle in the guy's new relationship. You know what I
mm,
mean? Trying to like stir
mm.
up the pot a little bit. You
How
know what
would
I
they do
mean?
that though? You mean like in social media or
Because they don't
stuff?
want to see that guy happy.
No, but I mean like
It
like
could be that. It could be I've had my boyfriend's exes call me and pretend that they were with them like the night before, like that kind of stuff. Like, oh, well, yeah, he was
oh
with me last night. Women are more likely to do
oh I see
that
what you're
kind of
saying.
stuff,
Yeah.
slide it into their DMs or like, yeah,
Oh,
he's been texting me,
so they're
even if
trying to
it's not true.
disrupt the
Right.
next.
And I'm not
Okay.
saying guys don't do that, but it's more typical for the women to do that kind of vindictive stuff
Yeah, you don't
because
want to do
it's,
that.
yeah,
Don't do
no,
that. Don't
no,
do that.
it's not good.
I
But
know it's everybody handles it differently, but that's
yeah,
definitely one
it's
of those
bad.
things
But I
to
mean,
not
that's
do.
happened to me of like women who couldn't deal with it. Even if their breakup was long prior, I've had crazy, their exes trying to like meddle and stuff, or I don't know,
You
man.
know what though? But I'm just gonna play devil's advocate, right? And
Okay.
I don't know any of these women or whatever, but I'm just thinking like, because you're a very attractive woman, and so being the other woman that got, let's say it didn't work out, maybe he broke up with her, and then seeing you, that's gotta hurt. I personally don't like looking up my ex's new boyfriends
Yeah.
because it's just gonna make me feel bad. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't do that to myself. Like I know myself well enough to know don't do that. Because I can tell you, I've been left for many a guy,
Mm.
and they're usually taller than I, more fit than I, and certain things like that. And I don't want to do that to myself.
Well,
So
I wouldn't want to see who my ex ended up with either. Me personally,
yeah, it's horrible.
I don't want to see, even if,
Now after time, I don't care. But
yeah, I mean,
freshly, no, I don't want to see
yeah,
that.
but I mean, even way after, like, I just don't care. Like, if you're happy, cool, but like, I don't need to seek out your ex or your new girlfriend, or like, I just don't care.
Yeah.
I don't want to see it. And like I said, it's dead, it's done. I don't want to, you know,
At one time I broke up with this one girl. I'm trying to think of why I broke up or why we ended the relationship. She was very nice, but for some reason we broke up. Anywho, I remember I broke up and again, typical guy. I was like, oh man, I missed certain aspects about
mm,
her. So,
yeah.
and it was only like a month or something, but or maybe it was two, but I hit her up and I was like, hey, how's it going? Blah, blah. And she immediately told me like, no, I'm already with somebody, and that guy had like moved in with her and stuff. And I was
Mm,
like, holy crap! And supposedly they met after we broke up,
mm,
but that was moving really, really fast.
yeah.
And she explained like, yeah, we met shortly after we broke up, and he's living with me. And I was like, oh, okay. So time went on. I think it's been like 2 or 3 years, and when that happened, I saw their Facebook. They updated their Facebook profile. Like they were together. They brought their kids together. All this other stuff. And if you look at them now, they are not together.
Yeah. It doesn't always
I was
work
just
out.
like, why would you like that was too fast. I'm not saying that like she didn't have enough time to think about it. She
Yeah.
she genuinely sounded happy. And I was glad for her. I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't want you like if you moved on, great, and I never talked to her again. but I saw her on Facebook, and then, like I said, I looked at it, and I don't know, maybe it's like a year or two later, and they weren't together anymore.
Yeah.
So maybe he
Yeah.
was a squatter. I don't know. He just needed a place to stay. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've seen exes on social media. It comes across people you may know and blah, 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 and whatever. But like I said, depending on how it ended, how the relationship was, sometimes I can be happy for that person. It's like,
Yeah,
if they update their profile photo and it's like, okay,
sure.
I'm glad that they found someone. I'm
Yeah.
not seeking it out, but I mean, if it pops up, sometimes you're okay with it. Sometimes it does hit hard if you don't want to see it, or, it's just like,
Sometimes though, and I will say this, um, especially with Facebook, any social media, I really don't believe the hype.
yeah,
I when I see couples posting pictures together, unless they've been together for like quite a long time, I kind of because I know what she's like.
like, bro, you don't know what you got into.
Well, I'm just saying, like, it's almost like they're trying to make it a point to show this face,
Yeah.
right? To show you what they want to show
I've
you.
moved on first or whatever. It's
Yeah,
like the
like look at me, I'm
competition sometimes.
happy, and it's like if you're genuinely happy, you don't go around telling people. It's like saying,
You,
"Hey, I'm smart." I'm smart. I'm really, really smart. It's like if you really are, you don't really need to tell
yeah,
anybody that you're smart. But that's how I kind of equate it.
yeah, I agree. And then it's hard too because some people really like to put their life on social media. I do not.
Yeah,
I keep a lot of things private, and it has nothing to do with flexing or anything like that. It's just that's who I am. But some people, maybe they're not doing it on purpose. Maybe it's just they like to put their life out there.
yeah, yeah, for
You,
sure.
you never
But
really know. But yeah, I think with social media in general, I mean, like, don't believe just because of a picture. You have no idea what's
no,
going on in the
no,
relationship.
no, you
Period.
you really don't. And there's people that I know that their relationships aren't happy or not, they're not good or whatever. And I see pictures, and you would never tell from the pictures that they post. And it's like, no, you guys were fighting
Yeah.
just yesterday. Now you're happy again.
So what would you do if you saw an ex? Does it depend on how you broke up and all that stuff too? Or like what if you saw for the first time your ex somewhere, let's say you guys lived kind of in the same neighborhood, you saw her at the grocery store, would you walk up to her and say, "Hey, how's it going?" Would you avoid? What would you do?
That's a good question. The only person that I have to see that's my ex is my ex-wife, and I just have to see her. Um, but if if I had my choice, I would never see any of my exes ever, ever again. But to answer your question, if I ran into that situation or that scenario, I would hope that I'm a bigger man and at least make idle conversation if she wanted it, right? So if I see them, I might say hi. If if they wave back, I might, you know what I mean. But let's
Yeah.
say they were in the same aisle, and she's coming down one way and I'm going down the other.
Oof.
I might be like, "Hey, how you doing?" And they might be, we're adults, so then she might be like, "Oh, I'm doing fine." Blah. I wouldn't have too long a conversation with them, and I would eventually be like, "Well, it's good seeing you, and see you later."
I've been in that situation of going down an aisle with an ex, and let me tell you, I averted my eyes and just pretended I didn't see that person.
Wow, really?
I don't want to have that. I'm not trying to sound immature. It's just that I just don't care. I just don't want to even pretend to be nice and all that stupid, like,
Jeez. Can I, you know what? This is a perfect opportunity. I wrote down a
okay,
lyric from a song,
okay,
and that what you just said
okay,
just resonates with me. Let me see if I can find it. Give me 1 second.
okay.
It's a song by Celeste, and it's called Strange. And by the way, because I heard it on Ted Lasso, so I started watching
Mm,
Ted Lasso. And just FYI, and I totally forgot because I started rewatching the series or the series. It all started from a breakup.
mm,
The whole chain of events. It was she got the guy divorced her, and then she wanted to. It was a revenge thing, and that's how the whole Ted Lasso thing. But anyways, the lyric is, "Isn't it strange how people can change from strangers to friends, friends into lovers, and strangers again?"
mm. Okay.
Because this guy that you walked past, y'all were once, you know,
Yeah.
you were lovers, and now you're not. And so the fact that you could be like, I don't know who you are. I'm just gonna keep on walking.
It just feels, I don't know, it's almost like I don't want to be fake in any aspect of my life. And for
Oh,
me,
come
no, but for
on. The
me
social
to
norms, though.
pretend, for me to pretend to have that idle conversation or like, hey, how's it go? Like to me, that just seems fake because I know I don't want to have that conversation.
Mhm.
So I'm really hard on like, I just don't want to be fake, and that's my
Let me ask you
stance.
this: were you looking extra good that day when you went to the grocery store? Like, did
Oh, I
you
don't know.
were you all decked out? You had your high heels
No,
on and
no,
all
I
that other
wouldn't
stuff?
like be like that at the grocery
You
store.
might. I don't know. You dress up pretty well, so
Yeah, but no, I don't think it was like that. I mean,
okay.
I don't really think I thought about that. It was just more of like,
Because like if you were in your sweatpants, it'd be like, oh, this dude,
yeah, there. I guess there is a difference if you were looking really bad,
right? Then you're like,
but I still, even if I was looking bomb, I would
mm.
not. I don't want to have that. I don't know.
I remember, and this may be about a little bit too personal, but my mother and my father divorced a long time ago, and I never knew him, but there was a time when they did see each other again. This was years and years. It had to have been at least, oh my goodness, 20, 30 years or something like
Hmm.
that, that they hadn't seen each other. And I remember seeing my mom, and she knew that he was going to be there too. And I remember her getting extra decked out.
Yeah,
They didn't talk, but I knew her, and I know that that's how, and that's where I got it from.
yeah.
And her thing has always been like, "Hey, your best revenge is to do as
A
well as
lot
you
of
can."
women would
Yeah,
be like, "Let me put on my best dress."
which is weird, right? Kind of, or no?
It's I get the mentality of it is weird because it's like, why do you care?
Yeah,
But there's something about like like you said, that's the revenge thing. It's like if you see them, let's say that your mom didn't, she just showed up looking bad.
yeah.
I don't know. Maybe your dad would be like, "Oh yeah, I didn't miss out on anything." I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of reasons it could be that, like, yeah, there's something in that. But
But for that reason, well, not for that reason, but you just never know. So whenever I go out, I try my best, today not included, to look as good as I can. But for me, I like wearing Hawaiian shirts when
well,
we do
I'm
these
pretty sure
recordings.
you won't see your ex here at this
No, no, no,
location.
no, absolutely, absolutely. But if I went to the store and stuff, I would,
Yeah.
because I wear, whenever we record, I try to wear Hawaiian shirts, and it's fun, it's happy or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I was out and about, and let's say she was with her dude, and they were looking good, and I was just
In a
dressed like
Hawaiian
this,
shirt.
yeah, and I'm in a Hawaiian shirt, and we're like, oh man,
Why
come
did I wear
on,
this?
exactly. But if I'm looking sharp, I got my blazer on, my button up, got my, I'm looking good, haircut, freshly
Yeah.
shaved, like,
Yeah, it
yeah,
would
what's
put a
up?
little swag in my step, but I still wouldn't talk to them no matter what I looked like. I just still wouldn't.
Is there anything that you've thought about?
Yeah, I'm just thinking like, like let's say that you don't even have to be living together. Let's just say that you go over to your house or their house a lot and you have things there. Let's say for whatever reason you ended it somewhere else.
Mm,
The giving of the things back, I mean, again, I think it depends on how it ends, but like for me, I
mm,
would just say, leave it on my doorstep. Just tell
mm,
me when you're going to be there. Just leave it there, whatever. And I would do the
mm.
same. I don't want to meet. It goes again with, I don't want to, it's dead.
Come on, let's
I
meet
don't want
up.
to, no, it's just, I mean, do you think, what's the norm? Is it like you meet in a specific location to trade things? Do you go back over there and have that last conversation, about the relationship to give the stuff back? How do you prefer it?
you know, I had two situations like that. One was minor. She had given me, I think it was like a cup or something, and it was a gift. And I remember after, I ended it, she was like, "I want it back."
Mm,
I was like, "I thought this was a
wow.
gift." Yeah, she thought about it, and she eventually texted me back saying, "No, you're right. It's yours. You can keep it." Blah blah blah. And then I had another situation where there was a lot of stuff of hers over at my place, and so I had to coordinate that. I didn't want to see her either,
Mm,
so but I figured, okay, now I have to take it over to her. I didn't want her coming over, so I just figured I'll take it over to her place. So I coordinated and be like, okay, when can I take this over? And I can drop it off, blah blah blah. And so I put everything together, and there was probably stuff that I still needed. Afterwards I was kind of going through things, trying to figure it out, but yeah, I agree. I don't want to see them. There's really
yeah.
no reason to to. There really is no reason for us to talk.
Yeah. I
Al-
mean,
Although I don't know.
now that you think about it.
Now that I think about it, there have been times when, uh, you know, I've broken up with somebody or they broke up with me, whatever. The relationship ended. And then you know how it goes. It's late
Mm-hmm.
at night. You're not doing anything. It didn't end like super bad.
Yeah.
And maybe the relationship itself was more physical,
Mm-hmm.
anyways, to begin with. You're like, hey, what you doing?
Yeah.
You send that text message, and they're like, nothing.
And for the person receiving that message, we all know what the code is. We know what that means. It's
What you
like,
doing? It just means, what are you doing?
yeah. As women, I
I
would
think
say
it's
we
the
know.
timing. If you get it at 11 o'clock at night,
Even if it was 3 p.m., I don't know. I mean, it could be, but
or
like,
3 p.m. 3 p.m. Well, so if it's at 3 p.m., that you're drunk texting, which is not advisable.
well, I
And
think
I've
some
done that
people try
many
to
times.
like dip their toe in a little bit. It's, I don't know. Like, I don't think that I can't say that I've ever done that, like trying to reach back
I
out.
wish I had never done
Yeah, I think a lot of people regret it. But what about like if you guys have like specific things to your relationship? Like, let's say you have a restaurant that it was like y'all's restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Would you go back by yourself with someone else? Doesn't matter, whatever. But
Yeah.
like, how do you feel about certain places or vacation spots or whatever? Are you well, for me, it would depend on how it ended, I guess. But like, I'm not that nostalgic about restaurants or places or whatever. It's like, well, that doesn't mean anything. If I like the place, I like the place.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, for me, it that did hit home for me.
Mm,
So, um, I was cheated on, and we had vacation place that we'd like to go vacation at, and after everything happened or whatever was revealed and the infidelity and so forth, I haven't been back to that place,
yeah,
and I don't know if that's just coincidental
like a
or if it was a
subconscious thing.
mental, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But I do plan on going back. It's just I just haven't. So now I can't quite figure out like if I prolonged it because I'm not ready to go back
yeah,
because that was our spot. And I would say like especially in that situation,
hmm,
that's a tricky one, right?
yeah,
Especially infidelity, right? Because that's where it hurts because there are certain spots and certain places that you go together, and that was
hmm,
your spot. I don't know. I typically don't frequent those places anymore.
yeah,
I'd find a new spot. But I mean, we live in Dallas, so like
yeah,
there's plenty of places we can go.
yeah. And there's probably more likelihood if you go back to that spot that you would maybe run into them.
Maybe.
So I have had a situation where a ex and I had a specific spot that we went to, and it had been maybe like 2 years after the breakup. I went there with a girlfriend of mine,
Mm,
and he happened to go there too. Saw me. I didn't see him. He saw me,
Did you run the
and
other way?
well, I guess, but he had contacted me later on through mail actually, and
Oh,
mentioned,
mail.
yeah,
Snail mail?
yeah. I
You wrote
kind
a
of,
letter?
yeah, I kind of liked
Oh
it. I thought it
my.
was sweet.
No, it's a lost art, but
Yeah.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, snail mail.
Maybe he should have done that while you were
I
together.
think
But
no, this person knew me and knew that like a text, it wouldn't have been the same. It wouldn't have resonated with me.
yeah,
And so he had mentioned like I saw and I knew exactly what night because I went there with my girlfriend. And so like I don't know, but like I said, I'm not that like nostalgic about places, so it's like I can still go there and maybe I may think of them for a hot second, but it's not like places are off limits to me.
yeah,
But you could, like I said, if you guys really liked a certain restaurant,
yeah,
if you go there a lot, you may see that
yeah,
person,
yeah. And I'll kind of take it from a different angle here, right? Because in the previous one, we were talking about how it would impact mutual acquaintances.
Mm,
That could be a thing too. So if you
yeah,
have mutual friends, it's hard because let's say you're having a conversation with them and all of a sudden they mention the other person, and now
yeah,
you're like, oh gosh. And then of course you have to resist the urge of saying, well, how are they doing or what's going on there,
yeah,
right? Because you really shouldn't be asking that question.
yeah.
But if they
They brought it
know,
up, so you
well,
kind
that's what
of
I'm
like,
saying. Now what do you do? Because you're like, oh gosh, I don't want to hear. I mean, maybe secretly you hope that they're doing bad.
yeah. But I mean, like, you
Did
could
he like lose
also.
a leg or something?
Oh, that's terrible.
I mean,
But I was thinking, and I know this is a TV show, but like on Friends, like when Ross and Rachel broke up, they're mutual friends, and they also obviously the sibling part,
mm,
Monica, right? But
yeah,
it's like having to see, and they ended it. It was a horrible breakup.
yeah.
He says they were on a break, but he basically cheated on
Hiatus.
her. Yeah. But I mean, like if you are really close friends and you guys both don't want to give that, I mean, you may be forced to be in those social situations
Yeah,
with,
yeah. And it's here's the thing. Every breakup is different, right? Because I've known people that have dated and then became friends afterwards,
yeah,
and that's unique,
yeah,
right? Because I don't know. Like again, with my ex, I have to see her because of the kids, but
yeah,
I don't know that I would ever hang out with her outside of anything relating to the children.
yeah,
So I don't know. Even though we started out as friends, I don't know that
yeah.
I could ever be like, oh, let's go catch a movie together
It
or
would have to
something.
be a situation where you both don't have romantic feelings, but you also maybe still like each other as friends. Like because you know what I mean? Like well, I want to say that maybe you and your ex aren't friends, right?
Yeah,
But you guys don't have romantic feelings for each other. So you can see her and it's okay,
yeah,
but it's not like you're seeking it out. But maybe you end things and there's no romantic feelings, but you still enjoy them as a friend.
yeah,
Maybe you could,
yeah. There's women that I thought I could do that with and be
yeah.
friends with them afterwards, but then realized really quickly that I can't because they would turn physical really fast.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of guy friends of mine say that maybe they've tried that and then
Yeah.
it's like their emotional feelings comes back almost immediately and it's just like, no, I can't be friends with you. I thought I could. And when people break up and they say let's be friends, I'm sorry, but that is the most
Let's be
ridiculous
friends. We
thing.
could still be friends. We could still be buddies.
I hate
Let's be
it's just like
buddies.
we're not going to be friends. Like
We're
don't
gonna be
even say
buddies.
it.
You never know.
No.
We're gonna be buddies. We'll
No.
be fine.
I think people just say it out of habit or
Go
they feel
shoot some
like it's a polite
pool.
thing to say, but like I have never said, "Can we be friends?" Never, because I know that's not
I
going to
think. I
happen.
think again. That's what I'm saying. It depends. It really, really depends. It depends on how long you were together, how many feelings you had, those
Mhm.
types of things. Whether it was physical. That's what I'm saying. There's certain exes that I've had that I thought, oh, we could be friends, but then it got physical really, really fast
Mhm.
because I wasn't emotionally attached to them anymore, but I still found them attractive. So it was like, and obviously they did too. So I was like, oh yeah, that didn't work. I guess we can't be friends, not
Yeah.
because we hate each other, but quite the opposite. Like we still want to, do the dirty deed kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's tricky, but um,
Yeah. I I just think that there's a lot to unpack and maybe we could have later on another breakup, you know,
yeah,
part of this, but I mean every breakup is different. Everybody is going to be different and I
I think
mean,
more than anything, honestly, I think whenever even a tragedy, there's always an opportunity, right? So sometimes you can't control the events or the things that happen to you,
yeah.
right? You really can't. But how you handle it afterwards can make all the difference in the world. So that's what I'm saying. I think with a breakup, even though it's very difficult, and I don't, I know it's not fun, the silver lining might be that they have time to grow. They
Yeah.
have time to reflect a little bit. They can work on themselves. They can improve themselves. It's difficult. It's extremely difficult because I know that the loneliness will set in.
Yeah.
Being part of a group or not group, excuse me, being in a partnership like that, right? I think everybody wants to be part of something bigger than themselves. And a
Yeah.
relationship is just that because you're a partner. It's like you're we're together. It's us, right? Now all of a sudden it's just you, right? And
Yeah.
when that happens, loneliness can set in. You might want to replace it as quickly as possible, but you really need the time to really think and reflect on everything that's happened before you move on. Because you can do it without it,
Mhm.
but you have to be very careful not to get yourself hurt
Yeah.
because people unfortunately will sometimes prey on the vulnerable.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it really can be, like you said, even in the losing weight, even if it started from a breakup, that's a good thing. It's if you turn that around and say, okay, you know what, instead of focusing so much on the relationship, now I have 100% of the time now to reflect on myself.
Yeah.
And so, where I used to do all these things for this person and made sure that they ate, made sure that they took care of themselves, now I can make sure that I take care of myself,
Yeah.
and I can show that same love, that self love to myself, right, and make myself better. And I think if you do that, I think you will attract the likewise,
Yeah.
because just like vulnerability will attract the vultures
Yeah.
and the
People can sense
wolves.
it.
Yes, it's the same thing when you're happy and
Yeah.
you're doing well and you're vibrant.
People will gravitate towards
Yeah, they're
you.
like, I want a piece of that,
Yeah.
you know?
That's a. Maybe don't say it like that.
No, but you know what I mean. I'm not talking about, you know what I mean, but
Yeah.
not, it's like, I want that, whatever that is, whatever,
Yeah.
that they're radiant, right?
Yeah.
They're just full of life and happy and fun, and I want some of that. I don't know
Yeah.
what's going on, but I want that. Whereas, again, the vultures, if you're down and out and you're
Yeah.
sad, and they'll come in.
Yeah. Don't put a target on your back if you can, possibly do that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, I think we can eventually, go into a totally different
Yeah.
angle when it comes to breakups. But breakups are hard, and like I said, we might come at it with a different angle because there's a lot to unpack. I'm
Yeah.
sure, right? It's not always We're not always be able to cover everything. Anywho, great conversation.
Yes.
Yes, and as always, we encourage people to listen, to rate our show. If you have a breakup story, so long as it's not too tragic, we'd love to hear about it, or just your experience in general. Please email us at here's the thing 214 at gmail.com. We'd love to hear it. Subscribe if you like it. Tell a friend if you can. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it.
Yes.
All right. Until next time.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Bye.